Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. I'm Coco, and I decided that I want to continue on in a series that I'm in the middle of that I feel can kind of be a little bit standalone-y, so I can tell you a little bit more about like the through line of the plot without giving anything away. And it's just a series that I want to finish off because I'm so tired of being in the middle of several series and not finishing them. So we're going to be reading the last two books in the Saint of Steel series by T. Kingfisher. Those are about paladins. If you don't know paladins, if you're not familiar with like D&D or anything like that, it's like a fantasy version of an acolyte, someone who follows a god or goddess or other deity. They are basically soldiers for their deity, but it follows these paladins, this group of paladins, and their god dies suddenly and they end up bereft. They are berserkers, so a lot of them actually like kind of go insane and most don't survive. But it has to do with like all these different paladins, their experiences, kind of falling in love and all these other things, but there's also a through line of mystery of some weird things going on that they have to help solve. And I really enjoy that because I don't really love a lot of romances that are just strictly romance with not much else. Like even contemporary romances, I feel like it has to have some sort of other plot that if you take out the romance, it could still be a good book. And I feel like this series is good at that. So we're going to be reading Paladin's Hope and Paladin's Faith, which are the third and fourth book in this series. Paladin's Hope is about a like doctor and one of the paladins. A like doctor is someone who can like basically kind of like someone who does autopsies, but they have magic, so they can like touch someone and see how they died. That one is two men that are kind of falling in love with each other. And then there is the other one, which is Marguerite, who she was also in the first book as like the spy slash friend slash patron of our main character Grace. As she was selling perfumes, she helped her facilitate that, but what we didn't encounter much is Marguerite's job as a spy. So I'm really excited about that one, especially because I really liked Marguerite as a character and I want to see her get her own romance and intrigue and all of these different mysterious things happening. So those are what I'm going to be reading. I also am planning on doing some more tie-dye. I feel a little bit more confident after doing tie-dye last week, and I kind of got bit by the tie-dye bug. So we're going to tie-dye the hoodie that I was scared to tie-dye. I might also see if there's anything else that I have that I wouldn't otherwise wear because it is like light colored, or I don't wear light colors because I'm clumsy and I get stains, whether from like paint or food or whatever. So we're going to see if there's anything else in my closet that I would want to tie-dye. Kind of want to try doing like ice tie-dye, but you have to have the powder tie-dye, and I only have one that's powder, and it's the black one. It's a lot less forgiving than the lighter colors. So we're gonna do that. I think I am also going to try to decorate my boot a little bit more for my broken foot. I have some stickers and things. I might do some painting or just drawing with marker, and I'll probably bring you along for that as well. But we're just gonna finish out these two books, and that's gonna be our vlog for this week, and just do some creative things as well. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm really excited. Let's go. Hello. I don't know what my hair wants to do lately, so I'm just kind of letting it do its thing. Kind of trying to go for the little Frodo Baggins effect. Don't know if that's what I'm going for, but I am also wearing one of the shirts that I tie-dyed in my last video, which I am very happy with how it turned out. And I wanted to give you an update on Paladin's Hope because I am 6 chapters in. Especially for a book that's under 300 pages, it is probably time that I give you my first impressions. I am honestly kind of ambivalent towards this book right now. Unfortunately, it's okay. It's not gripping me. Like, it started out with the mystery, which is great. I've been really, especially getting into mysteries lately, especially when it's kind of like contained within a different story, like a romance or something else. I love a mystery. And I think once we get farther into the book, that will continue on and maybe it'll grip me a little bit more. But right now, I'm kind of feeling ambivalent about the characters. I'm feeling ambivalent about the mystery so far. This does kind of pick up with the prior knowledge that we had from books 1 and 2, so I have to eat my words a little bit as far as being able to read these books in any order. I mean, you probably can, but you'd be confused at some of the parts. And I don't know, Galen was such an interesting character in Paladin's Strength. Like, he was a side character in that, and he didn't have like a ton of page time, but I did like him as a character. And I don't know if T. Kingfisher just needs to get like back into her stride or something and get back into the minds of the characters. But he's kind of just like a cardboard cutout right now. So I am going to continue on in the hopes that things will get better, because I did kind of feel a little bit iffy about Paladin's strength at the beginning. And then I ended up really liking that. So I didn't like it as much as Paladin's Grace. Paladin's Grace was the only one so far that gripped me basically from the beginning. And maybe this is just like the sophomore slump, but book 3 instead of book 2. I don't know. All right, so I'm over halfway through Paladin's Hope. I have on just someone walking in the woods. I am on page 160. And I still don't truly know how I feel about this book. Again, I am on the couch, but I have a broken foot, so there's not much else to do. I did get up and make lunch today for Matt and myself just because it makes me feel more human. And though I'm probably going to be hurting later by doing it in my walking boot and an ace bandage, I feel better because it's just like almost meditative for me. That's beside the point though. Paladin's Hope. We have Galen and we have Piper, which I don't love the name Piper for a man. I'm not sure why. I do kind of like their romance, but it also feels very physicality forward. And also this book is very physical as far as like fighting and mazes and puzzles, which mazes and puzzles are fun for me. Like, I don't want to give too much away, but like the Locked Tomb series by Tamsyn Muir has some of that in it, and I really enjoyed that. But with this, it just feels like the ratio of character development to like the maze and all of that, I don't know, it doesn't really make sense to me, especially I think because maybe I needed to read Swordheart or some other book in T. Kingfisher's backlist to understand what's going on here. Maybe I'm not fully appreciating it. But right now it's kind of mid for me, and I am hoping that changes by the end of the book, but I'm honestly not sure if it's going to. I'm hoping the 4th one is different. They've been wildly different so far from books 1 to 3. I'm going to finish reading this because I am almost 60% of the way through now. I'll let you know how it goes though. It is now the next day, and we're heading over to Matt's parents and then my parents because it is Father's Day. I wanted to update you because I did finish Paladin's Hope. My feelings about it haven't really changed. It was okay. I felt very much like a transitional novel to get to the final book, which I do have with me. This one's much more of a chunker. I don't know if I'm going to be getting any reading done because we're going to be hanging out with family, but yeah, I think I'm going to give this one a 3. If I were to give it anything, it was kind of mid. I didn't really feel one way or another about it. The romance was okay. I didn't feel like it was built up enough, and it just didn't feel believable because they went from like wanting each other physically to it's like, oh wait, now I'm in love, which I get that can happen, but also, I don't know, it didn't feel like it was fleshed out very well. And also the mystery aspect, which I've been loving in the other 2 books, and hopefully the last one too, it didn't honestly feel like a mystery in Paladin's Hope. It's like they didn't really build up to anything. They saw these bodies in the river, and then they were in this maze that they had to get through. So, I don't know. It just wasn't... It felt very much like a bridge to another book, which is fine, but also not really what I'm looking for in a novel. I feel like there are books that are like that, but they still have their own substance. Like Sabaa Tahir's series, which is a very different series. She does a really good job of making each book interesting on its own, not dependent on the prior books. So I really have to eat my words when I said like you don't really need to go in order. You definitely do. It's okay though. We're gonna head to Paladin's Faith, and even if I don't end up loving this, which I hope I do because it is almost 450 pages, so I don't want to spend my time in it and not like it, but I also like wouldn't want to DNF at this point. It's got one of my favorite characters from the very first book, Paladin's Grace. So Marguerite is a spy. She was also like friends and like the landlord of our main character, the perfumier from the first book. So I really liked Marguerite. I'm excited to see what her romance and mystery story are gonna look like. I'll let you guys know how it goes. Sophie's starting to whine. We're headed to Matt's parents and she can tell that we're almost there. So I'll let you guys go and I'll catch up with you once I've gotten my first impressions from this book. I was pretty much correct in my assumption yesterday that I wouldn't be able to do much reading. I did get some reading done of Paladin's Faith yesterday and a good chunk of the beginning of this today. So I do feel like I have enough of an understanding of this book to give you kind of my first impressions on it. I am happy to say that it is definitely more intriguing than Paladin's Hope was for me. I started out Paladin's Hope being like, this really is not pulling me in whatsoever. And this immediately pulled me in from the beginning. I don't know if it's because I already knew Marguerite from the first book or if just the premise is better. She asks Beartongue, who is the bishop for the Temple of the White Rat that the Paladins now work for, now that their god is dead. She asks for help. She needs escorting to court so she can do her spy thing and figure out who is trying to plot against her, but she needs protection, and that's where Shane and Ren come in. Shane is what seems to be the love interest in this book, and Ren is a female paladin, which it's really exciting to see. I'm really interested in her perspective on things and how she became a paladin, and all of that is very interesting to me. I don't know if she's going to get a book of her own for romance. I thought that this was a completed series, but there's 3 more paladins that we haven't followed yet, and I feel like T. Kingfisher is just going to finish those out. I haven't seen anything online about it, but we are following Shane and we are following Marguerite. Marguerite is very sure of herself. She is a spy. She knows how to get in little places and listen for inklings of things that she needs to know. But this time she really is worried that someone is plotting to kill her. So that's why we have Shane and Ren. Shane is very self-effacing, self-flagellating, and it feels like he doesn't deserve anything. So he's very much as Grace, who is the main character from the first book. She was talking to Marguerite in this book because they did meet up a little bit at the beginning. She says that Shane is kind of like apologetic. I think it's like apologetic furniture, maybe. I find it interesting that it seems like they have like a diametrically opposed viewpoint on life. Marguerite's very sure of herself. She's unapologetic and is very much herself, and Shane just always thinks he's doing something wrong. So I'm really hoping that she brings out his personality and banter, which they have done a little bit in this book. They're still traveling to court at this point, and you kind of get a little bit more of Shane as a person. He's not quite furniture anymore, which is really good. I was a little bit worried it'd be kind of boring because Shane is so one note in the beginning, but he's forcing himself to be that way. When you actually get in his head, it's not quite like that, which I'm really happy about. So I am really enjoying this. I'm going to catch up with you guys once I've gotten to about halfway in this. Let's get to it. All right, so we're doing a little bit of a tie-dye intermission. Now, I do want to give you a spoiler that this didn't quite turn out the way I wanted it to. We're probably going to redo it. I'll show you afterwards, but here I'm just trying to separate the sleeves because I wanted to kind of do like a red, yellow, blue, green sleeve situation going on, which I think I'm going to retry doing. This was really annoying to do, and I realized once I got to the other sleeve that I should have started from the shoulder down. So we started with the red, and then we went to the yellow. My issue with this one is that I realized that the yellow was sitting in basically the pile of red dye. Jinx is there wanting to get a hair dye treatment, I guess. I had to chase her off a couple of times, but overall, I'm glad I did it. I think the technique is going to be a little bit different when I try and redo it. As you'll be able to see, the red kind of took over. Hello, I was going to say good morning, but it is now afternoon. We are actually into Tuesday at this point. And because the last thing that you saw was me doing the tie-dye, I want to show you the results. They're not horrible, but I think I'm going to redo this, like I mentioned in the voiceover. I really wanted the sleeves to turn out differently than they did. This kind of looks really bad. It's very pink and red forward, and I just really want more green and blue at least. I honestly wasn't even thinking about doing green from the start, but since I have yellow and blue, I think I'm going to try to mix them together and make like a green to make it actually green, because this is pretty much not dyed. Most of this is runoff from the red. So it's not horrible. It's not the worst, but I think we can do better. And I think especially like with this part, we can do better. And I really wanted the sleeves to be distinctly like striped with the colors. So I think we're going to try this again. That's that. That's what we have. This is where it kind of was sitting in the dye. It is what it is. It already had some stains on it just because I don't wear white and I feed my pets. They get their little wet cat food on it. I do drawing and markers and stuff It's a whole thing. So I wasn't going to wear it when it was white. I was too scared to. It's already more likely that I'll wear it, but I want to make it better. We're going to make it better. But I do also have an update for Paladin's Faith, and I actually have some notes because I have thoughts, good ones, good ones. So let's go into my notes. I could probably talk about this off the dome, but my ADHD thoughts need organized, so I force them to be organized. I do really enjoy the intrigue and court politics of this. I think personally, if I was in the situation where I had to do all these different power plays and double speak and all of that, I would fail at it miserably. So it's really interesting to see other people do it and either do well or kind of put their foot in their mouth, that type of thing. And I just find it really interesting. It's the type of intrigue that I like. I was talking to Matt yesterday because when people say they like spy novels or novels with some sort of intrigue or espionage, most people usually think of like CIA or, 1950s, 1960s style spy novels, 007, all of that. That's not really my thing at all. But I really like it in like either a fantasy court setting or like a historical court setting. I remember reading The Other Boleyn Girl, probably too young. I think I was a teenager, and there was a lot of posturing and court politics in that. And this kind of reminds me of that, except this is in a fantasy setting with like paladins and all of that. So the mystery in this one is more intrigue and, like I said, court and espionage based rather than the mysteries that were in the first 3 books. The third book, though, was more of like a maze type thing where they had to figure out this gauntlet, basically. So I guess T. Kingfisher kind of shook it up for that too, though, like you remember from earlier in the vlog, that was not my favorite book. Though there are other Paladin books that I assume are going to be written, because we only have 3 left in the 7 paladins that don't have their love story, one being Ren, who is in this book. I truly think like this is kind of somewhat of like a climax of the whole story. There is a through line of a certain mystery that's happening, which hasn't really come up in this one yet, but I assume has something to do with everything that they're trying to figure out, which I want you to read on your own and kind of learn that with them because it is very exciting. So I'm not going to say anything else about that. Yeah, I think that in a good way, all the other books that I've read so far were building up to this, though I do think 1 and 2 stand on their own a little bit better than the third one did. About the romance in this, we are halfway through the book. It is very, very slow burn. Not much has happened yet, and I love it because there's better payoff when you let things kind of simmer and smolder and get to kind of like a fever pitch. I think that's better with the romance. And I do think most of the time, somehow in this Saint of Steel series, even though it is a fantasy romance, I wouldn't call it romantasy. It's not like a typical romantasy. I'd say fantasy romance because the plot, I feel like you could pull out most of it and still have a really good story. They're really well balanced for the most part, depending on the book. This one I think is really well balanced with the court intrigue and the dynamics of all 3 of them. It's like a motley crew of people because they have Ren included, which I will talk about a little bit more too. Like I was saying, I do really like Ren as a side character. She's funny and interesting and she's not like quite as self-flagellating as Shane is, but she also doesn't think much of herself. And it's interesting because like in this, she is mentioned a little bit as liking to cook, and she didn't really get to do that when she became a paladin, and the god called her for the battle tide or whatever. So I think if we get a book about her, she might hopefully be able to rediscover her love of cooking. That would be very exciting. And she has an interesting dynamic with Shane. Like the paladins are all like brotherhood, like siblinghood. There's I think 2 female paladins, maybe, which we haven't really talked about much except for Ren in this one. It would be like having like 5 brothers who are all like really protective because they're paladins and they're very noble and they're very protective of their own. And I feel like it'd be 10 times worse to be like the little sister, I guess, of that group, especially when you can hold your own as a paladin. That would be really frustrating. So I am excited to see Ren's story. I hope that maybe that's the next one we get. I don't know. I have been yapping for quite a while. I do plan on finishing this book today because I want to get this vlog out tomorrow. I have been editing as I go, but I can't finish the vlog without finishing this book. But it's really promising so far, and I was a little bit worried going in because it is very long, but it's not really a slog at all. I just really want to see where it goes, so we'll see where it goes. We did it, guys. I finished both books in this vlog. I just finished Paladin's Faith, and I am so happy to say that I really enjoyed this book. It almost baffles me even more just how mid Paladin's Hope was, because Paladin's Faith was such a strong book and had such a good plot line. It's like the plot ramped up as you kept going, like really slowly, and then in the fourth book it just like shot all the way up, and a lot of things have transpired. Why did I say it like that? A lot of things have transpired in this book that I think are going to be extrapolated in further books, and I am really excited because I was a little bit worried I was gonna like be fatigued by the end of this book and be like, how many more Paladin books can we have? But the events of this book, which I truly can't say anything about because they would give us so many things away, they set it up really good for the next books in the series, and I think they're going to be a little bit more interconnected than the previous ones have been. The first 4 books, 3 out of the 4 books were really good according to myself. Some people may like Paladin's Hope. Honestly, right now my ranking is, I hate to say it, but I think Paladin's Faith is first, then Paladin's Grace, then Paladin's Strength, then Paladin's Hope, unfortunately, is in 4th place right now out of 4. But overall, I'm really happy with how the series is going, and I can't wait to read more of them. I haven't seen anything specific about when any other books are going to come out, but there's no possible way that this is where the series ends based on kind of a cliffhanger, I guess. Yeah, there's a lot more questions that still need answered, so there's no way that that's the end of the series. If it was, I'd be very upset. But overall, I'm really happy with this. It's like darkly funny in some parts. I love the camaraderie and like the group dynamics that we had in this book, and it just got more and more fun as we went on. I would say don't go into the series expecting the grammar and syntax to be accurate to like a pseudo medieval world, because they sometimes do speak like they are in modern day in just like our world. But it didn't bother me. It's a really fun series, and though I didn't enjoy Swordheart, which I think is set in the same world, and I didn't actually finish Swordheart. I truly tried twice and I just couldn't do it. I really am enjoying the Paladin series. So even though Paladin's Hope was just okay, I am glad I read it. Maybe some of the things in this will be mentioned or have some sort of importance in the rest of the series. So overall, really good reading experience. And that is going to be it for this video. I had such a good time reading these books. I hope you enjoyed the vlog. If you want to see more like this, make sure to subscribe. I got a lot of plans coming up, especially for Summerween. You can hype this video. That is a free way to support me and to get more people to see my video. And yeah, you can also like and comment. I do have a Patreon if you want to see some exclusives and support me monetarily. My Storygraph is always listed in the description as well. And I just want you guys to stay curious and creative and have a good rest of your day. Bye.